motion and measurement. And maybe you learned about measurement so far in both the sessions, isn't it?
Yes, sir, we learned about measurements.
Right. And today we are going to learn about motion. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. So can you listen me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Right. Okay. So actually our chapter is motion and measurements. And you learned about measurement. What is a measurement? In measurement, what will be there? And apart from that, what are the units? How to remember about those units? So all those things you learned in a previous session, isn't it? Right. And so let us start today about motion actually. And motion generally comes in one of the chapter in physics actually, and that chapter generally will be called mechanics. What that will be called? Mechanics. And generally different branches of physics will be there. And one of the important branch of physics is nothing but mechanics. Any problem with the audio for you?
No, sir.
Right. So one of the important branch of physics is nothing but mechanics. And mechanics word actually derived from machines. And maybe you know that what machines will do generally.
Sir, machines make our work easier.
Right. They may be used in work. And generally what they will do, that means they will either move from one place to another place, or they will vibrate from one point to another point, or else they will rotate, isn't it? So all the machines generally will be in motion, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right. So that's why whenever you are learning about motion, you are generally saying about machines always which are in motion. And from this word, one branch of physics is named, and that branch only called mechanics. And in mechanics, generally object can be there in two different states. And those two different states are nothing but rest and motion. What is it? Rest and motion. So first let us learn about rest. What do you mean by rest? And let us learn about motion. And generally, can you say what is the rest, Pragya?
Sir, rest is when an object is not moving.
Okay. When an object is not moving will be called rest. How you say it is not moving? How you say?
Sir, it will not be in motion.
Okay, again you are coming to same point. It is not in a motion. How to understand it is in a motion or rest? You are saying not moving. Not moving means how you say it is not moving?
Sir, we are saying it's not moving because it's at the same point and it's not changing its position.
Right. So you have to say like this. Suppose here if you see, actually video conference not started, I'll start. So if I sit in some place, suppose I sat in chair at 6:30. Up to 8 o'clock, I am there in the chair only. That means my position is not changing. Then whether I am in a rest position or motion.
Sir, rest.
Why?
Sir, because you are not moving to any other position.
That means what you have to say, if the position of an object is not changing with respect to the time or with respect to the reference point. Suppose you are observing me, and from your place, if my position is not changing with respect to time or with respect to you, then what do you say? The object is in a state of rest.
Rest.
Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So a body is said to be at rest if it does not changes its position with respect to the reference point. And apart from the reference point, we can say with respect to the time also, apart from the reference point, and we can write with respect to time also. And with respect to time also, if does not changes its position, then we say it is in a state of rest. Now, a few examples given here. A table and chair lying in a room are in the state of rest because they do not change their position with respect to the surroundings of the room, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right. So again, tell me, what do you mean by rest?
Sir, rest is a body is said to be at rest if it does not change position with respect to the reference of the point and time.
Okay. So if an object is set, sorry, if an position of an object is not changing with respect to the time or with respect to the reference point, then the object is said to be in a state of rest. And you can give many examples. Suppose, for example, you stand at some place on the road. Stand there. You don't change your position and observe one tree. Whether tree will move at that time?
Sir, tree will not move.
So tree will not move. That means position of the tree will remain same from your point of view. Then what do you say? The tree is in a state of rest. Suppose, for example, you are there in a railway station and you are on a platform and train is not moving. Train is arrived to that station and stopped, and it is stopped for some time, and you are observing that train. If position of that train is not changing with respect to you, then what do you say? It is in a state of rest, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right. So state of rest means what? If a body does not changes its position with respect to time or with respect to the reference point or surroundings, then the object is said to be in a state of rest. Then can you say what do you mean by motion?
Sir, I think motion means when a body changes its position or reference point.
Okay. Right. If a body changes its position with respect to time or to the reference point, then the object is said to be in a state of motion. Now, suppose, for example, you are there on a platform of a railway station, and the rail is changing position with respect to you. Then what do you say? It is moving or not?
Sir, can you please repeat?
You are there on the platform of the railway station, and you are observing one rail changing position with respect to you. Then what do you say?
Sir, it is in motion.
It is in a motion. It is moving. You say like that, isn't it? So if the position of an object changes with respect to the reference point or time, then the object is said to be in a state of motion. Here, an object is said to be in a state of motion if it changes its position from one place to another. In other words, movement of the object is known as motion of the object. So a vehicle, whenever a vehicle is moving, then definitely what you say, it is in a state of motion. And the raindrops fall due to the gravitational pull. Raindrops also will come and they will move from one place to the another place, isn't it? So that is also state of motion. So what is the difference between state of rest and state of motion?
Sir, in the state of rest, we do not change, an object does not change its reference point, or it does not change its position and time. And in motion, an object changes its initial point or reference point.
Okay. Fawaz, you tell me what do you mean by state of rest and motion? What you understood? Sorry, say about state of motion only. Say about state of motion. Fawaz, type it. Fawaz, Fawaz, are you there or not? Right. So if position of an object changes with respect to reference point or time, then the object is said to be in a state of motion. Okay. And whatever the vehicle which is moving from you people, or if a train is leaving you from the station, that is also said to be in a state of motion. Suppose a bird is flying, whether bird is in a state of motion or not.
Sir, it is in the state of motion.
Right. So motion means it must change its position either with respect to the time or with respect to the some reference or surrounding, then the object is said to be in a state of motion. And here you have to understand one point clearly, whether state of rest and motion are absolute or relative. Do you know what do you mean by absolute?
Sir, I don't know what absolute means. I mean, absolute in English means completely. Like, it's absolutely correct. It's completely correct.
Absolutely means completely correct as per you. Absolute means total. So here, whether this state of rest and motion are absolute or not. Absolute means whether state of rest, whatever you are saying, is right or wrong. So that is actually absolute means certainly. Absolute means what you can say certainly. But let me say about one more word here. That word is nothing but relative. Relative means what? Do you know when relative word comes?
Sir,
Relative.
relative word comes when two or more people look at one object with different perspectives.
Okay. And generally, whenever relative term comes, what will be there? Comparison will be there. So comparing. Absolute means certainly. If I say that object is in a state of rest, it must be absolute. That only must be there. It must not be changing one. It must not be comparatively one. So if it is comparative, then it is called relative. If it is a certain one, then it will be called absolute. So state of rest and state of motion are absolute or relative. So generally, our answer will be relative. It is not absolute, it is relative. So relative means you can't say perfectly whether the object is in a state of rest or motion. And to understand about it, let me say about a small story which will be there in your history also. And let me start it. Actually, you know that very, very, very long back, generally kingdoms used to be. And one of the kingdom is there, Akbar, who was ruled by, which was ruled by Akbar. And maybe you know that Akbar Birbal stories will be there. And one of the story I am saying here. And that story is nothing but, now maybe you know that at that time in olden days, at that part kingdom, whatever are there, in those times, generally few meetings will be held, and in that meeting, all intellectuals will sit, and what they will do is they will throw some puzzle, and that puzzle must be answered by intellectuals who are sitting there. And one of the puzzle was given by King Akbar, and what he did is, in that meeting, he came down to this floor and he drawn one line like this. Akbar drawn one line, and he asked all the intellectuals which are there in that meeting. He asked that without touching it, without rubbing it, without touching it, you have to make that line shorter. Is it possible, Pragya, without touching it, you have to make it shorter?
Sir, shorter without touching it.
Without touching it, you have to make it shorter.
Sir, if you want to make it shorter, we can just go to a position where it looks shorter. So our perspective would be that it looks shorter, but some other's perspective would be it's longer. So according to our perspective, it would be shorter.
Perspective means how you see it. Perspective, how you are saying that perspective there, how you use it.
Perspective means that what one person's what one person's seeing and observation is.
Hmm. Okay. Now, like you people at that time, whoever intellectuals are there, those intellectuals were puzzled. How to do this? How to make this line shorter without touching it? So like that they thought. And in that kingdom, one of the intellectual was there who is called Birbal. And what he did is he came and drawn one more line like this. Now he asked king, which line is shorter? Then what he has to say?
Sir, the second line is longer and the first one is shorter.
If Birbal is asked king, which line is shorter? What he has to say now?
Sir, which line is shorter?
Which li-
Sir, the line that King
uh,
Akbar drew is shorter.
Okay, so when Birbal asked king, what he asked is, which line is shorter? Then he answered that the line which was drawn by me is shorter. Whether he touched that line, Birbal touched this line?
Sir, no.
No, without touching it, it made the shorter. When it made shorter, when you compare with the another line which is bigger than this one, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now tell me, the line drawn by Birbal will be longer or shorter?
Sir, longer.
Longer to what?
Sir, longer to the line King Akbar drew.
Right. Suppose king not drawn any line. Without drawing any line, if I ask you, the line drawn by Birbal is a larger one or shorter one? Can you say?
Sir, no.
You can't say, isn't it? Why you can't say?
Sir, because we have no comparison.
Right, because we can't compare it with any other one. So if you are in a position of comparison, then you say it is relative. So absolute means what? Certainly. If I say this line is longer, it must be longer only. It must not be shorter at any time. But restrained motion, whether they are relative or absolute. Just now I said restrained motion are not absolute. They are actually which type of physical quantities? Relative physical quantity. That means you can't absolutely say the object is in a state of rest or state of motion. That means according to one person, if an object is in a state of rest, it may be in a state of motion according to another. If object is in a state of motion according to one person, it may be in a state of rest according to another. So that means you can't say accurately that object is in a state of rest or motion. So for that also I can give one example, and that example is there as a question here. So observe this question. Passengers sitting in a moving train are in dash with respect to platform. Now let us think that you are sitting in a train and your mother is observing you. Okay. Now you are sitting in a train and your mother is observing you from the platform. Now this is a train and you are sitting in it, and mother is there here platform, and your train is moving. Now tell me whether you will be in a state of motion according to your mother, or you will be in a state of rest according to your mother.
Sir, according to my mother, I will be in a state of motion.
Okay, you will be in a state of motion according to your mother, who is there on the platform.
Yes.
But, now you are there in one seat, and near to you, one more passenger is sitting in your whatever chair is there. Now tell me, with respect to you, this person who is beside you will be in a state of motion or will be in a state of rest?
Sir, the person sitting beside me will be in a state of rest.
Why?
Sir, the person will be in the state of rest because he is in the train beside me and is not moving.
Okay. So he is not moving. That means his position is not changing with respect to you, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right. If position of that man is changing with respect to you, then you can say he is in a state of motion. But as his position is not changing with respect to you, definitely he will be in a state of, sorry, she will be in a state of rest only, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now that means to say the state of rest and motion, you have to compare or not?
Sir, we have to compare.
From where you have to compare? From where you are observing. From that you have to compare and say whether it is in a state of rest or motion. So see here, I understand the question. Passengers sitting in a moving train are in dash with respect to platform. So according to platform, moving train will be in a state of motion or rest.
Sir, according to the platform, the train will be in the state of motion.
Okay, it will be in a state of motion. And but in dash with respect to co-passengers in the train. Passengers sitting in a moving train are in a motion with respect to platform. But co-passenger with respect to him will be in which state?
Sir, sir, the co-passenger is inside the train only and looking at the platform.
Co-passenger is
So
one.
according to the co-passenger, it will be in motion because we are sitting in the train, and according to us, we are in rest, but the station or the platform will be in motion.
Okay, I'm not asking about platform. See here, passengers sitting in a moving train are in dash with respect to platform. That means with respect to platform, moving train, whatever is there in that passenger will be there, and that passenger can be seen as a he will be in a state of motion. But now co-passenger means you have to say with respect to one passenger. One passenger is there. Co-passenger means who will be nearby to you, and that co-passenger will be state of rest or motion with respect to you. That you have to say.
Sir, according to me, he or she will be in the state of rest.
Right. So she will be in a state of rest. So that means co-passenger generally will be in a state of rest. So that's why what must be your answer? Rest, motion and rest. So rest, motion, rest, motion, motion. So which option is right? B option will be right. Here motion must be there. And here rest must be there. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Now have you understood what is relative and absolute?
Yes, sir.
Right. So relative and absolute. Yashika, welcome. So you joined lately, and we are learning about state of rest and motion, and after that we learn about different types of emotion, and whatever the remaining portion is there in that particular second session, that I will finish. Okay. Yashika, are you there?
Yeah, sir, I'm here. I'm listening.
Right. Okay. Now, generally tell me, Yashika, maybe you heard it or not. What is your idea regarding to the state of motion? What do you mean by state of motion?
Something which is moving. For if there's a person who's running, the person is in motion, and if he's sleeping or sitting somewhere, then he's in a state of rest.
Okay. Now, just now I said co-passenger is there, train is there, and if you look at that particular train from the platform, train is in a state of motion. And suppose you are sitting in it, and you are also moving with the train. Now tell me, according to you, the train will be in a state of rest or motion?
So the train is moving, so it's in motion. We are not in motion exactly.
According to you also it will be in a state of motion.
But sir, I'm sitting. I'm resting. I'm not moving.
You are also moving along with the train. If you are not moving along with the
Sir,
train,
can I tell? Sir, can I tell?
okay, tell me, sir.
Sir, I'm Yashika. According to us, we are not moving, but the thing is that we are also changing position along with the train, so we are in motion.
Right. So you are in a motion, the train is also motion. But according to you, train will be in a state of rest only, no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So Yashika, have you understood? You are also moving along with the train only, no?
Yeah, sir.
So as you are also moving with respect to the train, definitely you can say train position is not changing with respect to you. That's why you can say train is in a state of rest. But if someone sees out of that particular train, then definitely train will be in a state of motion. Then you have to say like this: if the position of an object changes with respect to the time or surroundings or to the reference point, then the object is said to be in a state of motion. So position must change. Suppose at our class starts at 6:45. So at 6:45 p.m. my position is there here, and at 6:46 p.m. I am there here, and at 6:47 I am there here. Position is changing.
Sir,
Isn't it?
I'm not able to see anything on the screen.
Why?
I mean, sir, like I'm able to see the slide where you're showing the example, but like you're saying, I'll be here, I'll be here. I'm not able to see that on the screen.
Okay. Who is Pragya?
Yes, sir.
Right. What about Yashika? Can you see whatever I'm writing on the slide?
Yes, sir, I can see it.
Right. So maybe some network issue is there at your end, Pragya. Once you check.
Sir, I'll just refresh my screen.
Right. Okay. So at 6:45 I'm there here. My position is there here. 6:46 I'm there here, and 6:47 I'm there here. My position is changing or not with respect to time, Yashika?
Yes, sir, your position is changing.
Ah,
So you're in motion.
right. If the position of an object is changing with respect to the time or surrounding, then you have to say object is in a state of motion. Suppose at 6:45 I sat here. At 6:46 also I am sitting here only. At 6:47 also I sat here. At 8 p.m. also I am sitting here. Whether I am in a state of rest or motion now. Yashika,
Rest, sir.
why rest?
Because you're not moving.
You are not moving means my position is changing or my position is not changing.
Your position is not changing.
Right, you have to say like this. If the position of an object is not changing with respect to the time or surrounding, then the object is said to be in a state of rest. If position changes, then you have to say object is in a state of motion. And remember, motion and rest are not absolute. They are relative. That means you have to compare and then you have to say whether it is in a state of rest or motion. And further, one example also I gave just now. Maybe you are there in it or not. One story I said related to the shortness and longness.